across the starlit frontier, a grand sci-fi adventure. Humanity has always yearned for the unknown, ever since our earliest ancestors gazed at the shimmering tapestry of stars overhead and wondered if we were alone. In the 25th century, that question was answered in spectacular fashion when faster-than-light travel was achieved. Entire fleets of starships could now sail between distant solar systems and cast our species as intrepid explorers on a galactic stage. This article delves into one such adventure, a colossal odyssey through uncharted realms, full of triumphs and tragedies, where larger-than-life characters defy the boundaries of our imaginations. 1. The genesis of exploration. 1.1 Humanity's Great Leap. Following centuries of research and countless failed experiments, the successful design of the Voronov drive revolutionized space travel. This breakthrough allowed starships to punch temporary wormholes into space-time, effectively reducing journeys of decades to mere weeks. A new era dawned. Multi-world alliances were formed and interstellar trade blossomed. Over the course of 50 years, outposts and colonies sprang up on distant, previously unthinkable worlds. 1.2 The Celestial Frontier. Despite the wonder of cosmic expansion, many regions remain outside humanity's reach. These deep sectors, sometimes referred to as the Celestial Frontier, were often rife with unseen hazards, rogue planets, supernova remnants, and unknown alien presences. But the very mystery drew countless intrepid souls. Scientific bodies and corporate conglomerates alike vied for licenses to survey and stake claims on these frontiers. All the while, eager crews signed up for dangerous missions in search of fame, fortune, and the glory of discovery. 2. Meet the crew of the Astroventus. 2.1 Captain Leona Vandross. Leona Vandross came from a long line of naval officers. Raised on a metropolitan space station orbiting Mars, she learned discipline and leadership from a young age. Her father, an admiral in Earth's planetary navy, instilled in her a deep sense of responsibility, combined with sharp moral compass. After a distinguished record at the Lunar Academy, Leona was chosen to captain the newest exploration vessel, the Astroventus. She forged a team united by their curiosity and bonded by their thirst for genuine adventure. Leona possessed an unwavering courage that lit the path for her crew in the darkest moments. She would never allow any member to be left behind, but beneath that firm exterior lurked a quiet burden of command. Every decision weighed heavily on her. Every risk they took, every jump into unknown space, was a gamble that threatened her crew's lives. Yet, driven by her convictions, Captain Vandross pressed forward. 2.2 Chief Engineer Joaquin Jacques Morales. Born on a mining colony in the asteroid belt, Jacques learned early on to improvise. His inventiveness is the reason the Astroventus even made it through its maiden voyage. Rumor has it he once repaired a starship reactor with nothing more than a salvage flux converter and a piece of hull plating. Ever the sarcastic tinkerer, Jacques would greet each fresh challenge with both excitement and a sly grin. Beneath his tough, brash exterior, however, was an innate kindness, a genuine desire to protect those who relied on his brilliance. While Jacques possessed a boisterous sense of humor, few could deny his skill. Intricate designs, overloaded circuits, and malfunctioning jump drives cowered before him. To keep the Astroventus at optimal performance, he often worked himself to exhaustion in the dimly lit engineering bay, wrangling together the starship's labyrinth of technology. 2.3 Science Officer Dr. Noiragre. If Leona was a mission's driving force and Jacques its creative spark, then Dr. Noiragre was his philosophical soul. An exobiologist and astrophysicist, she had the ability to look at a problem from dozens of angles at once. Born on a remote ocean world, Noira spent her early years studying aquatic alien fauna that displayed remarkable intelligence. That formative experience taught her to observe first, act second, a mantra she maintained throughout her career. A scientist foremost, she believed that knowledge was the surest path to growth for any species. Whether it was scanning unknown spatial anomalies or deciphering ancient runes left by extinct civilizations, Noira saw a cosmos teeming with infinite possibilities. While others might respond to cosmic anomalies with fear, Noira approached them with methodical calm, a characteristic that would later prove invaluable on the crew's daring adventures. 2.4 Security Chief Alistair Finch. Standing nearly 2 meters tall, Alistair Finch's presence was as formidable as the reputation he'd built across the outer colonies. With a past in special operations, he rarely spoke of the missions that had forged his cold precision. He was pragmatic to core, believing that idealism had no place in the dangers of uncharted frontiers. Still, he respected Captain Vandross enough to obey her orders without question, provided they did not contravene his unwavering sense of practicality. Where Jax joked and Noir philosophized, Finch stood ever vigilant, scanning starship corridors for potential threats. In emergency landings and boarding actions alike, he was the first on the ground and the last to retreat. He bore the invisible scars of countless encounters, yet never faltered in his role of protecting his fellow explorers. 3. Launching into the unknown. 3.1 Mission Objectives. The Astra Ventus was commissioned by the Interplanetary Exploratory Society, AIS, to explore a newly charted region near the galactic rim, designated Sector Zeta 7. Early drone probes relayed intriguing data. Star systems teeming with enormous, ringed superplanets, bizarre crystal-like asteroids, and electromagnetic anomalies that defied comprehension. The mission was clear. Survey planetary bodies for potential resources or habitable zones. Document any signs of extraterrestrial life. Investigate the anomalous energy signatures believed to be emanating from a neighboring dwarf galaxy. The entire galaxy buzzed with speculation. Could these anomalies be remnants of advanced alien engineering? Were the rumored ringed worlds truly shaped by massive alien technologies? Captain Vandross intended to find out, and her crew shared that singular aim. 3.2 The Leap Beyond. Departing from a Mars orbital shipyard, the Astra Ventus soared into the darkness. Once beyond Earth's sensor range, Captain Vandross commanded, "Engage the Voronov drive." In a brilliant flash, the vessel breached the fabric of normal space and emerged into the swirling corridors of a wormhole. As kaleidoscopic lights twisted across the main view screen, the crew felt the familiar lurch of compressed travel. Then, silence. Space returned. The ship now drifted near a giant red star, far beyond any known colony. Immediately, alarms erupted. The star's corona was violently turbulent, sending arcs of plasma that nearly threatened the hull. Jack sprang into action, recalibrating the shielding frequencies to counteract the solar winds. They had arrived in Sector Zeta 7, and the first challenge was upon them. 4. Surreal World's Unprecedented Encounters. 4.1 Luminara, the shimmering planet. Orbiting the crimson star, the first planetary body, they reached appeared to glisten as if plated in precious metals. Dubbed Luminara, it boasted an atmosphere of reflected particulates that shimmered under the sun's light. Touching down on a wide plateau, the crew discovered an inhospitable surface with razor-sharp rock formations. Yet amidst these hazardous spires, they encountered strange, pulsing mineral columns humming with energy. Dr. Greer's analysis indicated that these structures might be alive, or at least integrated with an underlying biological intelligence. Each column seemed to communicate with the others through low-frequency vibrations, an alien chorus hidden within stone. Though the environment was toxic for humans, the mesmerizing shapes and faint hum hinting at living geology made Luminara unforgettable. Uncertain how to proceed, Captain Vandross decided to take only digital scans and physical samples. Finch insisted on perimeter guard, suspecting unseen threats. He was proven correct when a sudden quake forced the away team back to the shuttle. The columns, it seemed, were not just inert watchers but environmental triggers. Luminara was a living puzzle. For 0.2 ethereal asteroid fields. Departing Luminara, the Astra Ventus traversed an asteroid belt unlike any recorded in human databases. Instead of typical chunks of rock and metallic ore, these celestial objects were composed of a translucent crystal that refracted the distant starlight into a dazzling array of beams and flares. Dr. Greer observed that some of the smaller fragments seemed to spontaneously rearrange themselves, as though guided by an internal force or pattern. Navigating this field required the entire crew's combined talents. Finch maintained high alert, scanning for hidden dangers. Jax modified the hull sensor arrays to better detect collisions, and Captain Vandross piloted with expert finesse. At the center of the belt, They discovered a colossal crystal asteroid that dwarfed the rest. Strange runes appeared etched into its shimmering surface. Archetypal shapes, swirling loops, and geometric lines formed an alien script no one recognized. Such markings hinted that an advanced civilization might have ventured here millennia ago and left their cryptic record behind. This discovery fired the crew's curiosity, spurring them onward to unravel the cosmic mystery. 5. A shrouded world and its guardians. 5.1 Contact with the unknown. Of all the revelations that Sector Zeta 7 held, nothing compared to what awaited on the planet named Iron Prime. Cloaked in swirling violet clouds and rings of space debris, it exuded an aura of secrecy. Long-range sensors detected advanced structures on its surface, far beyond anything it had anticipated. An array of monolithic towers, each with a pulsing energy signature, lined a subcontinental region shaped like a crescent. Fearing that this world was home to intelligent life, Captain Vandross ordered a cautious approach. The Astra Ventus established orbit at a respectful distance, and Dr. Greer spent days analyzing the planet's atmospheric composition. Scans detected oxygen and nitrogen levels suggesting an environment breathable by humans, at least for a short time. Yet the swirling energy pockets scattered across the planet's surface defied explanation. 5.2 The first descent. With the entire crew on edge, they initiated the landing sequence. Thunderous winds buffeted the shuttle as it broke through the violet clouds. Through the storm, glimpses of alien towers appeared. Immense spires constructed from a smooth, reflective material. When the shuttle touched down, the away team disembarked onto a plateau near the towers. The place was eerily silent aside from the distant crackle of electricity in the atmosphere. Suddenly, an immense structure lit up, beams of blue light racing along its surface. The ground trembled. Out of the swirling haze, towering metallic constructs emerged. They were shaped vaguely like massive bipedal guardians, with multifaceted eyes that glowed softly. These constructs moved in perfect unison, like watchful sentinels safeguarding their domain. 5.3 Diplomacy or Disaster. Alistair Finch raised his weapon instinctively, but Captain Vandross placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "We don't fire unless threatened," she reminded him. Dr. Greer stepped forward, scanning the constructs, hoping to detect signs of an underlying intelligence. With no immediate sign of hostility, the crew carefully advanced. Out of nowhere, beams of light flashed from the construct's optical arrays, forming a three-dimensional image suspended in the air. It was an intricate pattern, possibly a language or invitation. The away team stood transfixed. Dr. Greer hastily recorded the symbols, while Jax recognized repeating motifs reminiscent of the crystalline runes they had seen in the asteroid belt. The construct seemed to be delivering a message, one that might be key to unlocking secrets about the entire sector. 6. Ancient Secrets Revealed. 6.1 The Encrypted Message. Back aboard the Astra Ventus, Dr. Greer spent sleepless nights in her lab decoding the recordings of the construct's holographic display. By comparing the patterns with the runes from the asteroid belt, she began to piece together their meaning. Each symbol corresponded to a concept: guardian, harmony, warning, path. It appeared these constructs were part of an ancient caretaker network, designed either to protect something on Iron Prime or to guard unwary explorers against a hidden threat. 6.2 Unseen Conflict. As the crew dug deeper, picking up intermittent transmissions on the planet's electromagnetic bands, a more daunting realization took shape. There was evidence of conflict centuries ago, presumably between different factions of the same advanced civilization. The Guardians could well be the final vestiges of an older empire that had tried to defend its technology from adversaries, or from the destructive impulses of its own people. While sifting through sensor data, Captain Vandross and Finch uncovered hidden energy buildups beneath the planet's surface. It might be an ancient superweapon or a fail-safe meant to keep the entire planet in balance. Either way, the artifacts on Iron Prime pointed to a civilization sophisticated enough to manipulate planetary ecosystems on a scale that dwarfed human engineering. 7. Trials of Morality and Survival. 7.1 Balancing Curiosity and Prudence. With the puzzle only partly unraveled, Captain Vandross struggled with a dilemma. Should they dig deeper, risking potential conflict with the Guardians? Or should they leave Iaran Prime's secrets untouched to preserve the planet's sanctity and protect her crew? The weight of command pressed on her. Dr. Greer argued that studying the planet could benefit humanity immeasurably, but Finch warned about threats unknown. Jax simply reminded them that the Astra Ventus was not equipped for large-scale combat or cataclysmic events. 7.2 Critical Discovery. While exploring further, the away team came across a hidden chamber in one of the spires. Strange symbols lit the walls. Holographic projections depicted how the ancient inhabitants harnessed the planet's energy. The images turned darker, showing conflict, weapons of immense size, and the planet itself contorting under massive stress. One projection displayed a ring of brilliant energy erupting from the center of Iaran Prime, spreading outward. From the context, it looked like a self-destruct or a failsafe that had once been activated. Then the Guardian's role became clearer, to ensure that this cataclysm never happened again. Stunned, Captain Vandross realized that tamper with the spires could trigger disastrous consequences. Humanity's presence might be seen as a threat. They had to tread more carefully than ever, and perhaps even find a way to communicate their peaceful intentions to the Guardians. 8. The climax, a race against time. 8.1 Unstable energies. After days of research, Dr. Greer discovered that the planet's core was becoming increasingly unstable. The presence of the Astra Ventus, its scans, landings, and vibrations might have disturbed a delicate equilibrium. Guardian constructs began to assemble in growing numbers around the spires, and deep rifts appeared in the planet's surface, spewing bursts of luminous plasma. Time was running out. Determined to prevent catastrophic damage, Captain Vandross proposed a daring plan, attempt to communicate a seize command of the planet's caretaker network, using the same holographic language they had deciphered. If they could activate the Guardian's override sequence, they might stabilize the core. 8.2 Risking everything. Coordinating with Finch and Jax, Dr. Greer crafted a rudimentary message using a portable holographic projector. In a tense operation, the away team ventured again into the storm-lashed surface of Iaran Prime. The Guardians loomed above them, radiating an almost mournful hum as the planet quaked violently. Giant fissures swallowed entire stretches of land, and the swirling violet clouds flashed with electric energy. With Finch guarding their flank, Jax synchronized projector to the correct frequency, while Dr. Greer carefully executed the holographic sequence. Nothing happened. Seconds ticked by. The ground shook harder. Panic washed over them until finally, the Guardians' eyes dimmed and then flared in brilliant unison. A resonant echo spread across the landscape, as if the planet itself were sighing in relief. As the quake subsided, the spire's energy flows receded to sustainable levels. The Guardians shifted from their threatening stance into one of guarded acceptance, hinting that a kind of mutual understanding had been reached. 9. The Aftermath and Legacy. 9.1 A Change Crew. In the days following, the atmosphere on board the Astra Ventus was charged with awe. They had uncovered not only a wondrous civilization, but had, in a sense, engaged in a dialogue with it. Captain Vandross noted in her log that, "We came here seeking knowledge and nearly found destruction. Iaran Prime has taught us that some secrets of the universe require more than intelligence. They demand humility." Security Chief Finch, typically stoic, showed a glimmer of hope in his eyes. He recognized that in cooperating rather than coercing, they had maintained a spirit of exploration free from conquest. Jax felt a profound sense of pride in his technical prowess and declared that this mission would be the highlight of his life. Dr. Greer quietly reflected on her discovery that life, in all its varied forms, even mechanical guardians, seek survival and harmony. 9.2 New frontiers ahead. With the planet's cataclysm averted and a tenuous alliance forged with the Guardians, the crew gathered whatever data they could ethically retrieve. They cataloged new life forms, recorded unknown languages, and thoroughly documented the caretaker network to share with the IES. In departing, they left behind a field beacon, signaling that Iaran Prime's wonders and its dangers should be treated with utmost respect. Their next destination was a mysterious dwarf galaxy visible beyond the swirling vortex of cosmic dust, where readings suggested further anomalies. Yet every member of the crew felt renewed, carrying with them the lessons learned from Iaran Prime. They knew that to truly uncover the universe's secrets, one must balance bravery with compassion, exploration with respect, and ambition with the capacity to listen. 10. Conclusion. The grand adventure of the Astra Ventus in Sector Zeta 7 is but a single chapter in humanity's ever-expanding story across the stars. In encountering living geological formations, crystalline asteroids etched with alien runes, and an ancient civilization defended by mechanical guardians, the crew discovered that the cosmos teems with both peril and promise. Captain Leona Vandross and her companions exemplify the best of our species. Curiosity tempered by caution, determination guided by empathy. This tale underscores that the final frontier is not merely a landscape of distant worlds and gleaming constellations. It is also an expedition into our own capacities for growth. We learn time and again that the line between discovery and calamity is a fragile one. Respect, communication, and ethical consideration must accompany every scientific leap. In the words of Dr. Noir, if the cosmos teaches us anything, it's that we are part of something far larger, and our understanding of it must evolve hand in hand with our compassion for its many wonders. So ends the story of the Astra Ventus first mission, but the spirit of interstellar adventure continues. Other captains will follow new star charts, guided by the lure of the unknown, forging alliances with alien civilizations yet unimagined. In that pursuit, humanity carries our dreams across cosmic seas, forever driven to explore, to learn, and to stand in awe of the infinite tapestry that surrounds us. And perhaps the greatest discoveries lie just beyond the edge of tomorrow, waiting for those brave enough to venture into the boundless night. 11. Dawn of a new quest. The crew of the Astra Ventus had scarcely caught their breath after the close call on Iron Prime, when they found themselves on the brink of yet another unknown. The dwarf galaxy, visible as a hazy swirl of light beyond drifting cosmic dust, beckoned like an unopened treasure chest. Data from their long-range sensors suggested faint, repeating signals. So faint they might have easily gone unnoticed if not for Dr. Noir's meticulous analysis. Whether those signals were natural phenomena or signs of an advanced species, no one could say. What they could not deny was a siren call of discovery pulling them forward, deeper into the cosmos. Before making the jump, Captain Leona Vandross gathered the crew in the ship's main briefing room. The tension and excitement were palpable. They all recognized the risk of heading into territory utterly outside Earth's known maps. But as Captain Vandross herself declared, we sail not just to plant flags on new worlds, but to expand the reach of our collective understanding. Let's move forward with open eyes and unwavering hearts. With that, the crew dispersed to their stations, each preparing in their own way for the leap into the dwarf galaxy's domain. 12. Into the veil of the dwarf galaxy. 12.1 Charting the Abyss. The Astra Ventus tore a hole in space-time via its Voronov drive, emerging at the very fringe of the dwarf galaxy. Thousands of faint, shimmering stars spread out across the view screen, each a tiny flicker in the cosmic void. There were no official star charts of this area. Indeed, the standard star charts recognized only the broad swirl of the dwarf galaxy's shape. The local star clusters were a mystery waiting to be unraveled. Jax Morales kept a watchful eye on the propulsion systems. The intensity of the jump had rattled the ship more than usual, and the engineer could not dismiss the faint hum that vibrated through the hull. Something about the region's gravitational fields and the presence of dark matter pockets might have been affecting the Voronov drive in subtle ways. He directed drones to run thorough inspections of the ventral plating, just in case microfractures had formed during transition. Meanwhile, Dr. Greer's sensors picked up unusual energy readings, tinted with spikes of radiation that did not match any known cosmic background. She cross-referenced those with the tenuous signals first detected from afar. If indeed these readings signified an advanced civilization, their technology could be woven directly into the cosmos, an astounding notion that both thrilled and unsettled her. 12.2 First Perils. Human eyes had never seen these particular stars, and from a vantage of the Astra Ventus, they seemed oddly distorted, as if the galaxy itself were veiled in a light-bending haze. Alistair Finch scanned for potential hazards, noting gravitational anomalies that could threaten any careless pilot. Space in this dwarf galaxy felt subtly different. Undulating waves of gravitational flux, dense nebular pockets, and bizarre asteroid clusters drifted in swirling orbits that defied standard physics. When the ship navigated too close to a region of heightened gravitic distortion, it shuddered so violently that Finch had to sound an all-hands alert. Captain Vandross deftly steered the vessel away, while Jax diverted extra power to structural integrity fields. After a tense hour, the Astra Ventus managed to skirt the distortion, but not without sustaining minor damage to outer hull plating. This ominous encounter made it clear the dwarf galaxy would not give up its secrets easily. 13. The flickering beacon. 13.1. Tracking the source. Over the next few weeks, Dr. Greer refined her instruments to trace the faint signals that had drawn them here. Gradually, she and the science team triangulated a pattern. The signals pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm, then surged in intensity for a brief moment, as though something were actively boosting its output at precise intervals. Each boost pointed toward a star system near the dwarf galaxy's core. The crew debated whether these pulses were attempts at communication or byproducts of an alien starship's engine. In any case, it was the strongest lead they had. Captain Vandross set course. Their journey spanned days, navigating past swirling clusters of cosmic dust and through labyrinthine asteroid fields tinged with colors of human eye rarely witnessed, emerald and magenta glows caused by exotic elements unknown in the Milky Way star systems. 13.2. The Guardian Remnants. In a stroke of near-impossible coincidence, or perhaps cosmic design, some of the crystalline asteroids in this region bore markings reminiscent of the runes discovered in Sector Zeta 7. Dr. Greer and Jack studied these shards, concluding that the same ancient caretakers who had once built Iron Prime's guardians might have traveled here ages ago. Broken fragments of caretaker architecture drifted in aimless orbits around planetoids scarred by centuries of cosmic erosion. Their presence suggested an ancient route of exploration far beyond what humanity had ever speculated. Finch, ever alert, posited that if these caretaker remains were scattered here, some threat might have followed them, perhaps even caused their downfall. The crew proceeded with heightened vigilance. The gravitational fields alone posed constant danger, but the possibility of an unseen enemy lurking among the swirling debris heightened the tension. 14. Arrival at the heart of twilight. 14.1. A strange star. After several more jump sequences, shore hops designed to reduce strain on the Voronov drive, the Astra Ventus reached the coordinates where the strongest pulses originated. They found themselves orbiting a dim, lavender-hued star that radiated in a spectrum unfamiliar to them. This star's corona seemed unusually calm for its class, as though sustained by an energy regulation system. Perhaps it was a natural phenomenon, or perhaps it was a signature technology harnessing the star's power. Orbiting this mysterious star was a single massive planet with rings shimmering faintly in lavender light. Sensors indicated the presence of artificial satellites or orbital stations embedded within those rings. Jax's excitement was palpable over the comm. We're definitely not alone out here. Whoever built those structures had technology advanced enough to anchor installations within ring systems. That's not child's play. 14.2. A metallic world. Scans of the planet's surface revealed smooth expanses of reflective metal, like oceans of liquid alloy glinting in the star's pale glow. Captain Vandross, intrigued yet cautious, initiated an orbital survey. Strange constructs dotted the reflective plains, towering spires reminiscent of the caretaker designs on Iron Prime, but also low-slung domes connected by an intricate web of filament-like lines, as though some grand city once stood there, now empty or abandoned. Meanwhile, the repeating signals grew stronger. They emanated not from the planet's surface, but from an orbital complex hidden among the outer reaches of the planet's rings. The structure seemed active, pulsing with energy that synchronized with the star's flares. Captain Vandross made the decision. The best chance of discovering the truth lay in investigating that orbital station. 15. Boarding the orbital station. 15.1. Approach and docking. Drawing near, the Astra Ventus found an entrance port large enough for a shuttle. The station's surface was studded with hexagonal panels that flashed in patterns, possibly responding to the star's electromagnetic pulses. Tensions ran high as the away team, Captain Vandross, Dr. Greer, Jax, Finch, and a small squad of explorers, boarded the shuttle. The docking procedure was nerve-wracking. The interior of the docking bay was pressurized, but the lights flickered erratically, hinting at centuries of neglect. Once the shuttle sealed against the hull, the away team ventured onto a metallic platform. Thin corridors branched off in multiple directions. The air was stale but breathable, suggesting the station had advanced atmospheric processors that still functioned, albeit barely. Along the walls, phosphorescent strips flickered weakly, like a city on the brink of blackout. 15.2 echoes of old technology. Advancing deeper, they found rows of panels that displayed hieroglyphic script akin to what they'd encountered among caretaker ruins. Dr. Greer theorized that the station might be a caretaker outpost, part of a network stretching across multiple galaxies. The caretaker civilization, once thought relegated to half-legend, now loomed large in the crew's minds. But the station was not deserted. Soft whirring echoed through the corridors, and shadowy shapes darted at the edges of the away team's lights. Finch snapped into a defensive posture, scanning the darkness. Suddenly, a cluster of small, hovering drones emerged from a passageway, their bodies encased in sleek metallic shells. The drones glided closer, their optical sensors glowing faintly. They projected swirling patterns of light onto the walls, similar to the caretaker guardian's holographic messages on Iaran Prime. Recognizing the non-aggressive nature, Dr. Greer stepped forward and mirrored the caretaker symbols they had learned. For a tense moment, the drones paused midair. Then their lights shifted, forming recognizable caretaker runes that translated to Warning, Protocol in Effect, 16 Revelations and Warnings. 16.1 The heart of the station. Guided by the drones, the away team traversed winding corridors and lifts that descended into the station's depths. Eventually, they reached a vast chamber with a ceiling that arced hundreds of meters above. In the center was a humming Nexus device, pulsing with the same rhythm as the signals that had led the Astra Ventus here. Massive columns rose around it, lined with caretaker inscriptions that told a story. The caretaker civilization once spanned far beyond the Milky Way, establishing outposts in promising galaxies. A powerful cosmic anomaly threatened their entire network, forcing them to retreat from certain regions. Some caretaker groups stood their ground, building guardian constructs. Others fled, hoping to regroup or find solution. This station was a listening post, designed to monitor the anomaly's spread and warn any caretaker enclave still within range. So many questions arose. Had the anomaly consumed other caretaker colonies? Was it still expanding? And why were the caretaker structures on Iaran Prime left to function in solitude? 16.2 A universe in peril. As Dr. Greer deciphered more inscriptions, it became apparent that the anomaly was not a simple black hole or supernova. The caretakers had called it the entropic well, a roving phenomenon that devoured energy fields. It destabilized stars and left entire star systems in ruin. Worse, caretaker records suggested it was sentient on some level, an entity that fed on cosmic phenomena, from solar flares to living biomatter. The station's pulses, as it turned out, were both a warning and a distress beacon. This outpost's automatic systems had been broadcasting for centuries, perhaps millennia, hoping for reinforcement that never came. Now, for the first time, living beings had arrived to witness its final transmissions. 17 Choice and Responsibility. 17.1A Call to Action. Captain Vandross felt the weight of command press upon her once again. The caretaker civilization, once masters of cosmic engineering, had been undone by this entropic well. If such a threat persisted, it could, in time, menace Earth and the entire Milky Way. The data gleaned from caretaker inscriptions pointed to potential solutions: massive cosmic shields, or artificially generated singularities used to divert or imprison the phenomenon. But the caretaker technology was so far beyond humanity's grasp that it might take centuries to replicate. Could the crew of the Astra Ventus do anything meaningful here and now? Yet the crew agreed on one thing: knowledge was the first line of defense. If they could bring these caretaker records back home, humankind could begin research into the entropic well. They might eventually develop an alliance of species, if others were encountered, to stand against it. We can't just leave this station and pretend we didn't see, Dr. Greer insisted. This might be the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced. 17.2 Internal debate. Some aboard the Astra Ventus questioned whether they should delve deeper. After all, their mission was exploration, not to wage war on cosmic anomalies. Finch worried that meddling with caretaker technology could trigger unpredictable consequences. Jax, however, maintained that they had a responsibility to do what they could, no matter how small their initial contribution might be. Captain Vandross concluded that acquiring the station's full database was a priority, as was ensuring the station remained functional for future caretaker survivors, or any other explorers who might follow. Humanity's role in the cosmic theater was changing. No longer just curious onlookers, they were now potential actors in an unfolding crisis that transcended star systems and civilizations. 18. Race against an ancient darkness. 18.1 Systems failing. Time was short. As the away team attempted to interface with the caretaker Nexus, the station's power grid began to fluctuate dangerously. Centuries of minimal maintenance meant that vital components were on the verge of burnout. If the station went dark, all that precious caretaker knowledge would be lost, and so would the only advanced warning system for the entropic well in this dwarf galaxy. Jax rushed to stabilize the station's power, rerouting flows through centuries-old conduits. Dr. Greer frantically downloaded caretaker archives. Finch and a security detail guarded the corridors, aware that the station's drone guardians might interpret any misstep as sabotage. Meanwhile, Captain Vandross monitored the Astra Ventus on her Risk-Com, ensuring the starship remained ready for a swift evacuation if everything went south. 18.2 The Drone's Dilemma. As Jax and Dr. Greer worked feverishly, the caretaker drone circled overhead, their glowing optics flickering from calm observation to what appeared to be stress. They occasionally projected caretaker runes. Preserve, safeguard, depart. Clearly, the drones sought to preserve the caretaker legacy, but were unsure if these strangers could be trusted with such knowledge. Jack spoke softly toward them, as though they could understand empathy in his voice. "We're here to protect what you built. Help us help you." In response, the drone's light stabilized, and their swirling patterns formed a corridor of illumination that guided the way team to the final archives. Through a series of vaulted passageways, they reached a sealed data vault. The metal doors parted as if the station itself was granting permission. Inside lay rows of crystal memory banks, containing what remained of caretaker wisdom. With a sense of awe, Dr. Greer started data transfers into every storage module she and Jax had brought. This was knowledge that might shift the destiny of more than one galaxy. 19. An uncertain escape. 19.1 Cataclysmic decay. The moment the data transfer began, the station's structural decay accelerated. Sparks flared in overhead conduits, and klaxons wailed in shrill, alien tones. The caretaker Nexus, once humming softly, now blazed with an unstable overcharge, perhaps a last gasp of energy. Columns of light pulsated erratically, and the gravity in the station wavered, sending the away team stumbling. It was as if retrieving the data had triggered a final failsafe or meltdown. With the archival transfer almost complete, Captain Vandross gave the order for everyone to retreat to the shuttle. Jax, still wrestling with the station's failing systems, stayed behind a few extra moments to manually disengage the data vault, preventing a catastrophic chain reaction that could destroy it. Finch, ignoring potential danger, insisted on guarding Jax until the job was done. A deafening crack shook the corridor as a section of the ceiling collapsed in a hail of sparks and metal. Jax and Finch narrowly dodged the debris. Seeing that the meltdown could not be stopped, Jax abandoned further repair attempts. The data was as secure as it would ever be. Together, they sprinted back to the shuttle. 19.2 Narrow escape. With the away team safely aboard, the shuttle's engines roared to life. The docking clamps groaned as the station's structural integrity failed, forcing Jax to wrestle the controls. Outside, the ring system glowed unnaturally, reflecting the chaotic energies bursting from the station's panels. At last, with an explosive jolt, the shuttle broke free and raced toward the Astra Ventus, which hovered at a safe distance. Moments after docking with the main ship, the caretaker station erupted in a dazzling burst of light, sending shockwaves across the ring debris. The planet below shimmered in sympathy, as though lamenting the loss of an ancient sentinel. When the light faded, Only fragments of superheated metal remained, drifting in the star's orbit. The caretaker outpost had finally succumbed to time and adversity, but the data and hope survived. 20. The road home for now. 20.1 Unfolding Knowledge. Back aboard the Astroventus, Dr. Greer and her team began the Herculean task of cataloging and interpreting the caretaker archives. Among the data crystals were entire treatises on advanced energy manipulation, star-lifting techniques, and cryptic references to other caretaker stations scattered throughout the cosmos. Most pressing of all were the coordinates of possible vantage points to observe the entropic well, some in far-flung galaxies, others terrifyingly close to the Milky Way. Over the following weeks, the crew worked tirelessly to stabilize the starship systems and map out the best route home. Communication with Earth was nearly impossible in this remote region, forcing them to rely on star charts they created on the fly. Captain Vandross convened daily strategy sessions, juggling the desire to explore more caretaker sites against the urgent need to warn humanity of the cosmic threat. 20.2 Reflecting on Purpose. Each member of the crew felt the magnitude of what they had accomplished and the weight of what lay ahead. Captain Vandross understood this was no longer a simple expedition. Humanity might be on the cusp of an intergalactic crisis, and it fell to her to guide them through the first steps. Dr. Greer felt equal measures of exhilaration and dread. The caretaker knowledge was more vast than anything she had imagined, but overshadowed by the reality of the entropic well's destructive power. Jax Morales began charting how caretaker engineering methods could revolutionize human starships, if only they had the infrastructure to replicate them. He felt pride in having saved crucial caretaker data, but also the pang of leaving so many caretaker relics behind. Alistair Finch remained a sentinel of practicality. He saw that advanced knowledge could tip the scales between survival and oblivion, but it could also ignite conflicts if used irresponsibly. Resolute, he vowed to keep watch over any path that might lead humanity astray. 21. A Pledge to the Future. 21.1 Homeward Bound. With repairs complete and navigational charts plotted, the Astroventus fired its Voronov drive one final time to depart the dwarf galaxy. Piercing through swirling space-time corridors, they emerged days later near the fringes of the Milky Way. Though battered and weary, they carried with them treasures beyond measure, knowledge gleaned from an ancient civilization, and a stark warning about a cosmic predator lurking beyond known space. As Earth's star came into view, an almost spiritual calm settled over the crew. They had ventured farther than any humans before, confronted the remnants of impossible wonders, and returned as messengers of both hope and peril. 21.2 The Next Odyssey. Upon arrival at Mars Orbital Shipyard, the Interplanetary Exploratory Society awaited their debrief. Few could fathom the scale of the caretaker archives or the gravity of the entropic well's threat, but the seeds of a new era were planted. Quietly, alliances began to form, scientific, diplomatic, and even military, anticipating a day when the entropic well might draw closer. Meanwhile, the crew of the Astroventus found themselves changed. They had witnessed galaxies uncharted and glimpsed cosmic mysteries that dwarfed human comprehension. In recognition of their courage, Captain Vandross and her team were granted leave to recover, reflect, and prepare for the next mission. Yet none believed they would rest for long, because out there, past the starlit horizon, the caretaker legacy still beckoned, and the entropic well lurked in the darkness of distant galaxies. Humanity's story in the cosmic tapestry was only beginning. Somewhere, among uncharted stars, other caretaker outposts might stand ready to be awakened. Other civilizations might already be battling the entropic well or forging alliances of their own. The Astroventus had proven that, with resolve and compassion, humankind could traverse the cosmic seas, bridging the gap between worlds and forging new destinies among the stars. Epilogue. Embers in the night. In the grand scheme of galaxies, a single starship's journey might seem insignificant, but as the Astroventus powered down in its slip at the Mars Orbital Shipyard, echoes of its discoveries reverberated throughout human civilization. The caretaker archives promised breakthroughs in energy and material science, holding potential to propel humanity's expansion beyond the farthest rims. Yet that same knowledge carried the burden of a cosmic warning. The universe harbored forces not just indifferent, but actively hostile to life's fragile spark. Standing at the threshold of infinite possibility, humans were at once empowered and humbled. The final frontier, it seemed, held wonders far greater than any dream, and perils darker than any nightmare. For Captain Vandross and her crew, the adventure that began with a leap into Sector Zeta 7 had evolved into a mission of galactic significance. Whenever they closed their eyes, they recalled the luminous crystals of alien asteroids, the towering spires of caretaker worlds, and the ephemeral brilliance of a dying orbital station. Their hearts beat in unison with the optimism that humanity, for all its flaws, might rise to the challenge of safeguarding not only its own star system, but the entire patchwork of civilizations across the cosmic sea. And so they stood ready, gazing into the boundless night. The next chapter will be penned by those willing to venture once more into the unknown. Bold souls unafraid of the cosmic tides, resolved to endure against all odds, and fueled by the eternal human spirit of exploration. 22. The Spark of Discovery. Mars' orbital shipyard bustled with activity upon the Astra Ventus return. Technicians in sleek vacuum suits zipped along guide rails, evaluating microfractures in the hull, replenishing depleted stores, and reviewing each deck status. This was not a moment of mere mechanical tending. There was a new electricity coursing through the shipyard, a collective awareness that something extraordinary had transpired out there, beyond the rim of humanity's domain. Captain Leona Vandross and her crew were temporarily relieved of active duty, but only in name. Their minds never quite left the swirling depths of the dwarf galaxy or the caretaker station that had disintegrated before their eyes. Over the following weeks, the Interplanetary Exploratory Society, IES, convened multiple councils to parse the caretaker data crystals. Each fragment of alien knowledge, each cryptic reference, and each star chart entry presented revelations that rattled preconceptions about the known universe. 22.1 scientific marvels and military fears. Leading the research coalition was Dr. Nuara, whose expertise and tireless dedication had become legendary within IES circles. She oversaw teams of exobiologists, astrophysicists, cryptographers, and even quantum mathematicians, fusing their diverse skills to decode the caretaker archives. While they made steady progress, certain passages remained baffling. Elaborate instructions for creating large-scale energy lattice traps, references to temporal slipweaves that stabilize entire star systems, and repeated mention of the malignant entropic well. Among the IES leadership, excitement warred with concern. The caretaker technologies promised near-miraculous leaps in energy generation, terraforming, and starship propulsion, capabilities that could end resource scarcity and unify the solar system's colonies. Yet many asked, at what cost? If knowledge as powerful fell into the wrong hands, entire worlds might be threatened, or Earth's own governments could trigger unintended cosmic disasters by tinkering with forces they barely understood. Reflecting this tension, the Earth Planetary Navy, EPN, dispatched observers to every caretaker data lab, anxious to protect the potential for new military applications. The IES insisted that scientific and humanitarian motives must guide any usage of the caretaker technology. Meanwhile, quiet whispers hinted at corporate syndicates already vying for exclusive contracts to exploit the data. It seemed that even the greatest cosmic discoveries could be overshadowed by the oldest human temptations, power and profit. 23. Ties that bind. 23.1 An unexpected visitor. During one busy afternoon at the Mars orbital shipyard, where Captain Vandross was explaining the Astra Ventus's jump telemetry to a group of junior officers, a call came in from the docking ring. An unregistered vessel had arrived. The ship, sleek in silver, bore the insignia of the Alteron Coalition, a loose confederation of human-populated colonies near the outer reaches of settled space. Out stepped a tall figure clad in a dark uniform braided with luminous fiber. Envoy Taros Kane, a seasoned negotiator rumored to have forging allies' talents that rivaled a politician's guile. Kane requested an immediate audience with Captain Vandross, having heard rumors, perhaps through questionable channels, of the caretaker revelations. Captain, he said upon their first meeting, I have come from the edge of our civilization, where rumors abound of unstoppable cosmic threats and star-born wonders. My coalition sees both opportunity and peril. We like to learn what truly transpired in Sector Zeta, 7, and beyond. The question hung in the air. Should the caretaker knowledge be shared with other human factions right now, or withheld until the AS fully understood it? Vandross, recalling the caretaker station's final collapse, decided that forging broader alliances might be the only way to handle an intergalactic threat. Thus, she invited Envoy Kane to review the mission logs under strict supervision. The seeds of partnership and potential suspicion were sown. 23.20 friendships, new tensions. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Jax Morales spent his days consulting on caretaker technology. Word of his feats in stabilizing the caretaker station's data vault had spread, making him the reluctant hero to engineers across the solar system. While Jax appreciated the admiration, the demands on his time were overwhelming. Even more concerning were the not-so-subtle approaches from corporate heavyweights, offering lavish sums for private consultations, or for first dibs on caretaker schematics that might revolutionize starship design. Alistair Finch, security chief and ever-pragmatist, quietly watched the swirl of activity, ready to intervene at the first sign of sabotage. Confronted with suspicious accidents in the caretaker labs and clandestine attempts to copy restricted data, Finch could sense that not everyone seeking caretaker secrets was guided by altruism. Concerned that the caretaker knowledge might be stolen, he pushed for tighter security protocols across the entire shipyard. 24. Echoes of the entropic well. 24.1 alarming signals. While tension simmered at the shipyard, Dr. Greer's dream of forging a grand scientific coalition moved forward. Her immediate goal, to locate the entropic well. The caretaker data indicated that the well advanced like a ravenous tide. Each new star system it reached seemed to wither, its star losing stability, its planetary bodies degrading. Worse yet, the data suggested that the well was capable of accelerating its spread under certain astrophysical conditions. One morning, as Dr. Greer and her colleagues pored over caretaker star charts, they detected something chilling in the deep space monitoring arrays. A series of faint gravitational ripples in the outer fringes of the galaxy matched caretaker data points, describing the entropic well's wake. The phenomenon was billions of kilometers away from Earth, but if the caretaker records were accurate, it could close that distance far more quickly than natural phenomena typically allowed. 24.2 warning the leaders. The IES quickly convened a council meeting, bringing together top scientific minds, EPN admirals, representatives from the Martian Parliament, and the new ally Envoy Kane. Even corporate representatives were given seats in a demonstration of transparency, though some suspected it was more about keeping a wary eye on them. Dr. Greer presented the findings. The ripples matched caretaker harmonics, indicative of entropic well activity. The well's current trajectory aimed it somewhere within the galactic spiral arm that humanity inhabited. Preliminary caretaker notes indicated that a smaller caretaker outpost once existed in that approximate region. Its last known status, destroyed. The room fell silent. No one had wanted to believe that the caretaker data about a cosmic devourer would strike so close to home, at least not in their lifetimes. And yet here it was, a cosmic threat looming at the edges of human space, a ticking clock with an uncertain timescale. Admiral Hank Vandross, Captain Leona Vandross's father and a senior figure in the EPN, was among the first to break the silence. We must accelerate caretaker research. If it's truly an active threat, we can't wait for further proof. We must prepare. Captain Vandross agreed, but reminded everyone that caretaker technology took centuries to master, and the caretaker civilization itself had failed to fully contain the well. Whether humanity had the unity and the humility to do better remained to be seen. 25. Rising to meet the threat. 25.1 A coalition's formation. A somber resolution took shape. Humanity needed a united front to face a menace that transcended territorial claims. Envoy Tauros Kane wasted no time rallying the outlying colonies, promising that the Alteron coalition would pledge resources and manpower if Earth extended caretaker research to them. The EPN pledged its fleets for reconnaissance and potential evacuation efforts should entire systems come under threat. Even commercial juggernauts offered starship construction facilities and raw materials, motivated by self-preservation as much as profit. Seeing an opportunity to unite fractious human factions, Captain Vandross stepped forward with a bold proposition: the formation of an interstellar task force dedicated to three objectives: research and development, refine caretaker technology into practical defensive measures or cosmic-scale shields, exploration and surveillance, locate more caretaker outposts or any other advanced civilizations that might know how to contain the entropic well, diplomatic outreach, prepare for the possibility that humanity may need allies, whether from other species or caretaker survivors, before the entropic well arrives. The proposal met surprisingly little resistance. Fear often breeds compliance, and the potential for cosmic apocalypse was the greatest motivator of all. 25.2 The Astra Ventus Reborn. At the center of this newly formed task force was the Astra Ventus, a vessel that had already demonstrated its resilience and adaptability. Refit teams swarmed the starship from bow to stern, installing caretaker-inspired upgrades, enhanced sensor arrays, improved structural dampeners for safer wormhole transitions, and an experimental shield lattice on the outer hull. Jax Morales led these efforts, balancing caretaker principles with tried-and-true human engineering to ensure the modifications wouldn't overload the ship systems. In parallel, Dr. Greer supervised the installation of an extended laboratory module equipped with caretaker data interfaces, libraries of alien scripts, star maps, and partial schematics for advanced gravitational manipulation devices. On the bridge, Captain Vandross received new mission directives. She and her crew would spearhead the exploration objective, scouring caretaker coordinates for any surviving strongholds or allies who might hold the key to halting the well. The refurbishment took months, yet morale soared. Engineers, scientists, security officers, and navigators felt a renewed sense of purpose. Over late-night coffees and hurried corridor conversations, they swapped theories, told stories about caretaker wonders, and mused whether humanity's destiny now lay in forging cosmic alliances. The dread of the entropic well was undeniable, but it ignited a unifying fire in hearts that once were scattered across allegiances. 26. A bold departure. 26.1 Farewell to familiar stars. On a crisp morning at Mars Orbital Shipyard, the Astra Ventus prepared to launch again. This time, its mission was no mere adventure. It was a calculated voyage into the caretaker network's rumored enclaves, guided by star charts that spanned multiple galaxies. The launch ceremony was modest, no cheering crowds or dramatic speeches. Instead, each of the newly formed task force ships departed the docks in tight formation, the Astra Ventus at the forefront. Crew members from across the solar system watched from their stations or from city domes on Mars, hearts pounding with equal parts pride and trepidation. As the starship cleared Mars orbit, Captain Vandross's voice resounded over the comm. "All hands, this is the captain. We embark on a path few could have envisioned. Our journey will take us far beyond the boundaries of known space, to the corners of the caretaker frontier. We carry with us humanity's hopes, and we go not in conquest, but in cooperation. Set coordinates for the first jump point, and may fortune favor us all." 26.2 Enter the unknown once more. The Astra Ventus aligned with a remote jump beacon near the edge of the solar system, its Voronov drive humming at full capacity. In seconds, space warped into a spiraling tunnel of light. Instruments crackled with cosmic static, but the newly fortified hull plating held steady. On the view screen, a swirl of colors heralded the entrance to uncharted realms. When they emerged, the stars were unfamiliar. A luminous nebula stretched across the horizon, swirling with pink and turquoise clouds born of cosmic dust. Captain Vandross allowed herself a moment of silent awe. This was the essence of why she had joined the service: to witness the grand tapestry of the universe and protect her home from its untamed edges. With the caretaker archives flickering on Dr. Greer's monitors, with Finch and Jax already scanning for anomalies, and with the crew ready for anything, the Astra Ventus continued onward. Although they had left behind the comforts of Earth and Mars, they carried with them something far more potent: an unbreakable resolve. The caretaker's secrets, the threat of the entropic well, and humanity's new alliances all lay entwined in their mission, an odyssey that promised to test every limit of knowledge, courage, and heart. 27. Cosmic Bridges and New Horizons. 27.1 threads of hope. Days melted into weeks as the task force pressed deeper into the caretaker star lanes gleaned from the archives. Each system held potential clues. Strange beacons, half-functional outposts, or cryptic caretaker inscriptions etched into asteroids. On rare occasions, the task force discovered caretaker satellites still orbiting lonely dwarf planets, broadcasting incomprehensible signals from centuries past. Yet the entropic remained a shadow on every astrographic update. No matter how vibrant or peaceful a newly discovered region might appear, the knowledge of that lurking doom pressed them onward. They needed more than scraps of caretaker data. They needed a living caretaker presence. Survivors who knew how to fight or contain the well more effectively than the scattered remains suggested. 27.2 The Binding Mosaic. Meanwhile, on Earth and throughout the solar colonies, the caretaker knowledge catalyzed a wave of innovation. Corporate labs sprouted up on Luna and Titan, each racing to decode advanced gravitational theories that could yield stable wormhole networks or fortress-like planetary shields. Public opinion wavered between optimistic that caretaker science might solve fundamental human problems, and apprehensive that meddling in ancient cosmic tools could invite disaster or accelerate the entropic well's arrival. The seeds of a new era were undeniably planted, though no one could yet see if the harvest would be a golden age or a cataclysm. Still, the ideological lines between scientists, militaries, and corporate entities began blurring under the sheer magnitude of the threat. Even moral lines were blurred. What if using caretaker weaponry was the only means to save Earth? Could humanity accept that role after centuries of trying to present itself as peaceful explorers? 28. Toward the Glimmer of Tomorrow. Across the solar system, researchers chipped away at caretaker complexities, forging prototypes of cosmic shields. Across uncharted starfields, the Astra Ventus and its companions hunted for caretaker enclaves and potential allies. And across the dark void, the entropic crept closer, hidden in a veil of interstellar night. Whether the caretaker legacy would unite or divide humanity hung in the balance. Every step the task force had felt like a walk on the edge of destiny, forging new paths where knowledge and courage interlocked. In the hush of the ship's corridors at night, one could almost hear the stars whisper of both infinite wonder and mortal peril. Yet if there was one certainty in this unfolding story, it was that humankind had dared to look beyond the threshold of the possible and refuse to flinch. From the captain's unwavering leadership to the engineer's relentless innovation, from the scientist's insatiable quest for understanding to the security chief's steadfast vigilance, the crew of the Astra Ventus represented the best of human tenacity. The tapestry of cosmic adventure remains wide open. Perhaps the Astra Ventus will discover caretaker survivors, forging alliances unthinkable a mere decade ago. Perhaps the task force will perfect caretaker technology just in time to face the well head-on. Or maybe a hidden race, older still than the caretakers, waits beyond the next swirl of nebular clouds, ready to offer salvation or spark conflict on a galactic scale. Whatever the outcome, the continuing saga of Captain Vandross and her crew stands testament to truth that has guided them from the start. The pursuit of knowledge is never without cost, yet it remains humanity's greatest shield against the unknown. And so they sail onward into the boundless darkness, forging star by star, chart by chart, an unbreakable bridge between who we are and who we must become.